nothing about it either. Okay, so here we go on page 498, Derech Hashem. It says, concerning the virtues of love and fear of Hashem, having discussed the concept of Torah study in the previous chapter, the Ramchal begins his discussion about the divine service as it relates to one's deeds. He begins with the first of the four categories mentioned in chapter 1, namely constant mitzvot, which is the Thursday night course. Wednesday night course. Wednesday night course. Okay, yeah. We have already explained the concepts of love and fear of Hashem in part 1, chapter 4, which bring a person close to and help him form a bond with his Creator. So he says the Ramchal wrote that one must reinforce within himself the love and the fear or the awe of Hashem in order to become close to Hashem while still in the physical world. He now discusses two concepts within the framework of the constant mitzvot. This is referring to the true love and awe. I'm going to translate this awe instead of fear because people always get it wrong. Namely, the love of Hashem, and rather than the love of reward. So he says, someone who loves Hashem because of the reward he will receive is not truly expressing love of Hashem as much as self-love. One must strive to love Hashem the way the Ramchal will explain it below. So, and the awe of that's interesting. He decides to translate it as awe. And the awe of his exaltedness rather than fear of punishment. Similarly, one who's motivated by fear of punishment is centering only on his own well-being. Such fear will actually distance him from Hashem. We stay away from that which frightens us. However, fear of Hashem's exaltedness, or the awe, leads to humility and negation before him. There is no separating ego, so the person becomes closer to Hashem. And you should look to Derech Hashem, Derech L'chaim, so on and so forth, for deeper understanding of these two types of yira, fear or awe. Thus, although reflection on reward and punishment can help motivate a person to make the right choice, such a motivation will not bring a greater closeness to Hashem. And now, so the Ramchal will now explain the proper way of having awe of Hashem. So the first rule is, this awe purifies the person from the darkness of his corporeality and allows the Shekhinah to dwell upon him. We're on page 499. And he explains, the Ramchal explained earlier, that darkness is the manifestation of corporeality, distancing a person from Hashem's illumination. He now states that by contemplating the greatness of Hashem, the person transcends the limits to his corporeality, that his corporeality placed upon him. Awe of Hashem leads to humility and nullification of one's self before him. At that point, the Shekhinah can dwell upon him, as Hashem says, I lower my Shekhinah upon the humble. And the opposite is also true. One who walks with haughtiness, it is as if he is pushing away the quote-unquote feet of the Shekhinah. So, the more one negates himself and desires to serve him, the more shefa he receives. His soul shines more brightly and becomes more elevated and closer to Hashem. Okay. So thus, one who attains the level of constant awe of Hashem will always have the dwelling of the Shekhinah upon him, and it is thus fitting that fear of Hashem or awe of Hashem be a constant mitzvah. This manifested itself in a perfect form in Moshe Rabbeinu alav shalom, about whom the rabbi said, with regard to Moshe, fear was a minor matter. In other words, awe of Hashem was a minor matter. And so Moshe merited that the Shekhinah continuously dwelt upon him. Since Moshe was in a constant awe of Hashem's greatness, he was able to have the Shekhinah dwell upon him at all times. Presumably, this is why Moshe could prophesy whatever he wanted, as we learned above. Since the Shekhinah continually dwelt upon him, he was able to have constant access to Hashem. It is difficult for other people to properly attain this level of awe, the ideal state of constant awe of Hashem's greatness. But that is not easy for people other than Moshe Rabbeinu to achieve. And he says, but relative to what one does, to what one does to attain, but relative to what one does attain of it, so will be the power of his purification and sanctification, as we have just mentioned. The person, he explains, will be purified from his corporeal darkness, and the resultant sanctity of the Shekhinah dwelling upon him relative to his level of purification. So again, what we have to try to get into, and this is what he's saying, is that if we follow his methodology, we will develop this awe of Hashem according to our own level, whatever that is going to be. The higher, the more we do that constant mitzvah of awe of Hashem, the more that will strip away the darkness and so on and so forth. But we have to work on it. It's not something that we can just say we have, and it's not the fear of punishment. It's truly awe. So now define what awe is. How do you develop awe for somebody? So we said before, I think the Rambam says that you have to look around at nature and so on and so forth, see how things work, and realize that we could not do it on our own. Look at the stars in the sky. Realize how small we are in God's creation. We're nothing. Listen to scientists. We're nothing in the universe, and yet we have this sentient understanding of God. And so we have to appreciate what God, which is why normally shepherds would be the prophets, because they were always involved outside and they could wonder about these things. But even somebody who is involved in business or anything else has the possibility to also develop this awe of Hashem. And Moshe said it very nicely, actually. He said, if one has true, Moshe Gub, I'm saying, he was giving a talk on business ethics somewhere, I think to kids. And one of his things was, if you really have bitachon in Hashem and believe as a fact that Hashem decided what you're going to make Rosh Hashanah, and you're not going to make less, you're not going to make more, no matter what you do. That's what you're going to do. So if you have that, if you really believe that, and you have bitachon, so there's no reason to cheat in business. No reason to be angry at anybody in business, because they didn't take a dime away from you. I'm now building on what he's saying. He didn't take anything away from you, and you should help the guy out. By all means, you're not taking anything from my pocket. If you have bitachon, if you don't have bitachon, if you don't have the certainty that Hashem is, if you don't have awe of Hashem, understanding that He's running a beautiful system here, well, then you're going to be jealous, you're going to be upset, and so on and so forth. You're going to cheat, and you're going to try to rip off everybody. Okay, but that's what we're talking about. You have to develop that sort of belief. And it's very, very difficult. Like I always say, if you bought the winning ticket, you didn't know you bought the winning ticket, you bought the winning ticket, and it was $1 million ticket, and somebody came to you and said, I will pay you $500,000 right now. And you say to yourself, well, the odds are $1 billion to 1 are going to win anyway. Give me 500 million. You walk away. You're happy. You got 500 million. And this 500,000. I'm going for the billion. You're right. Why not? I said another, as my mother would say, it's another zero. Okay, but it's you're going for the five. You get 500,000. You're happy. You walk. You invest. You put in your bank. Then lo and behold, the guy hits your ticket. Was $1 million. How do you feel about that guy now? Do you say, the guy was a gunner. You make his whole, it's a thief. I can't believe it. He should share the money with me. He should give me another 250,000. Surely my $1 million was my investment. How dare he? I can't believe this bad luck. You have no bitachon in Hashem, none whatsoever. You said you did. I believe. You're a liar, period. That's what it is. God wanted you to have 500,000, and He wanted him to have 1 million. You should be happy, overjoyed at his success. That's bitachon Hashem. Everybody got what they should be getting. That's bitachon. Where I'm happy, I'm overjoyed that you got whatever you got, and you're happy with whatever I got. We don't look at each other. We don't look at what we're driving, what we're living in. Don't look at anything. How the kids. You don't look at anything. You say, Baruch Hashem. Hashem reward this, and thank you for rewarding me, and for whatever. Thank you for the bad times, the good times. That's all part of bitachon. That's all part of loving and fearing Hashem. If you can work it, that's what we have to work on. How many people have that? I don't know. That's up to each individual to decide if that's where they are. And I think we can all work on it, personally. Okay. I'm speaking for myself. I know I can work on it. So, especially during one's engagement in the performance of mitzvah or Torah study, The fear of the awe of Hashem is a necessary precondition for the performance of that study or that mitzvah, as we have mentioned in the previous chapter. So he says, in the previous chapter, we learned that the awe of Hashem is one of the two preconditions needed for one's Torah study to draw down the hashpah of Hashem, the influence of Hashem. The Ramchal adds here that such awe is necessary for the perfected performance of any mitzvah. If I don't have that awe, that respect, I'm going to come to a mitzvah that I don't understand, and I'm going to say it doesn't apply to me. Or if I don't know it, to use Reformed terminology, if it's informed choice. It's like I have choice. These are only suggestions of what I do. So I learned the halacha, it obviously doesn't apply to me. I don't need it, so I'm not going to follow it. Well, again, that's not awe of God. That's not respect of God. That's a disdain of God. Even if I don't understand, that's not aseh v'nishma. Even if I don't understand what I'm supposed to be, why I'm supposed to be doing it, I should still do it. And I have to have trust that Hashem created a system which really works, and I have awe of that. So I'm going to follow it. Again, whether or not I understand it, it's an irrelevant point. It's the point is I have respect for the person, for the lawgiver. Okay, that's what he's saying here. And then 14, the Ramchal also wrote that one who purifies and sanctifies himself through his deeds will draw downward through his Torah study, hashpah, commensurate to the degree of his preparedness. As we have learned here, proper awe of Hashem will lead one to that purity and sanctity. And see below how man is able to bring downward sanctity and purity to the entire world. You guys, you can sit here and you can sit here. We have somebody else? Oh, okay, fine. Okay. Thank you very much. So the Ramchal now describes the mitzvah of loving Hashem. Love of Hashem is what attaches and binds a person to his Creator. In Mesilat Yesharim, the Ramchal writes that love of Hashem entails craving and pursuing Hashem's closeness until the very mention of His name, speaking about His praise, and involvement in the Torah evoke delight just when one is about to talk about his beloved wife or only child. Now this, I want to give you a visual here. I remember when I was in college, and the Lubavitch Rabbi Darren, he should live to 120 in health, but he would go to the Farbringen. The Lubavitcher Rebbe was still alive according to all opinions, and he would want to bring us to the Farbringen. When you would see Rabbi Darren talk about the Rebbe, there was an amazing love for the man. You could see that in his eyes, and so that's one picture. You have to have this tremendous love for this figure. It's unbelievable to see that. And I never quite understood it. And then I was driving with my brother. He was not yet married to his wife. He was, I think, just engaged to her. And we were driving to college, and he started to talk about his beloved. And it's true. He started talking about her and thinking how he can get back. She was in Boston. We were in Amherst. How he thinks he can get off for the weekend, and he can go down, and the same look that Rabbi Darren had for the Rebbe was the same look that my brother had, hopefully still has, for his wife, his upcoming wife. And I said to my brother, I can see that you truly love her. He said, why? I said, because you have the same look as Rabbi Darren, who talks about the Rebbe. But that's what it is. When I talk about the person, I suddenly glow. Oh God, I suddenly glow. I'm excited. Again, I'm not excited to convert you or to make you do what I want. I'm just so enthralled and in love with God that when somebody speaks about him, it's like I'm breathing. It's like the person who comes from underwater and grasps that breath, that first breath that you get. Remember, when you're underwater, you can't breathe. Most of us can. I don't know. Can you breathe underwater? No, you're pretty good, right? Okay. I don't know. You're thinking. It's impossible. Sorry? Yeah. Okay, try and tell me what happens. Okay, but be on the top, be on the soft surface when you do it. Okay. But the point is, when you're out of breath and you suddenly get out of the, you reach air, you're so happy. Oh, Baruch Hashem, I can breathe again. Okay, but that's what we're trying to get to. That level of excitement, of joy, when we're dealing with any mitzvah. Again, think about it. In the morning when we get up and we're coming to shul, we go, yeah. That's not excitement. That's like, oh my God, I have to be here again. No, Again, put the film on, get ready. That's why we have all the Pesukei de Zimra. That's why we have all this brachot that we're saying. We have to get ready. We have to psych ourselves up because we're going to speak to God. That audience that we have at the Shemona Esrei is unbelievable. We have to appreciate that. And that's the awe that we're talking about. That's that love that we're talking about. Okay, so he says, of primary importance is that it should be performed with heartfelt happiness. So he explains that, did I skip something? No, I don't think so. Right. Mesilas Yesharim, the Ramchal writes that happiness is an offshoot of the love of Hashem. True happiness is when a person rejoices in his heart that he has merit to serve Hashem and engage in his Torah mitzvot. Again, that's what we're looking for. The fervor of the soul and the presence of the Creator and the person's complete devotion with all his resources to the sanctification of Hashem's name and for the sake of providing satisfaction before Him. And he says this apparently refers to the second offshoot of love of Hashem explained by the Ramchal and Mesilas Yesharim, namely Devekus, being attached to God, being so bound to Hashem that nothing else carries interest. Again, very high level. I don't know who gets to that level. Maybe the Rebbe does, I don't know. But I think most people have, we compartmentalize a lot of things. We have family, we have this, we have that. Okay, so it's really a level that we should be trying to get to, that everything is so bound to Hashem that nothing else really carries the interest that goes with it. Again, doesn't mean I should diss my parents, keep it up aim as part of that. Doesn't mean I should forget my wife, simech et ishto. You have to make your wife happy. Doesn't mean I should neglect my kids or stop working or anything else. It means that every one of those activities I should recognize is a service to God. That's all. We're not saying live in the world of asceticism. Live in this world. But realize that everything we do should be for that sake. L'shem shamayim. Okay, then it says, the Ramchal also, he lists the third offshoot of a love of Hashem as zealousness in protesting those who violate Hashem's will. This involves great self-sacrifice and is effective only when done purely for the sake of heaven. And I'll say this again, rebuke only works if it's l'shem shamayim, truly l'shem shamayim. Normally when people tell you off, 502, normally when people tell you off, it's not because they want you to do what's right. It's because they feel good telling you off. If they feel good telling you off, then they've sinned. Should I repeat that? If you feel good, you're sinning. You have no right to feel good. When you see somebody doing something wrong and you try to correct them, you should feel sad for them. And not like, oh, you really have to be felt. You're part and parcel of that person. That act is affecting you too. You have no right to rejoice if somebody's, as says in Pirkei Avot, do not rejoice at your enemy's downfall, regardless of who that is. Let the person do tshuva, pray for the person to tshuva. But when you're telling that person off, if you so believe you're doing l'shem shamayim, again, check your emotions at the door. But if you really are doing l'shem shamayim, you'll have success. If you don't, if there's a hint that you feel good, you've lost. Not only did you lose, but you made it worse. Which is why, by the way, we don't like to give rebuke today. We're not trained at giving a rebuke properly. Okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't punish children to get them to act the right way. I'm not saying that you can't say you're wrong when people are wrong. I'm not going to get into PC garbage. What I'm saying is we have to understand ourselves why we're doing it. And if we have a hint of feeling good about it, stop. Don't do it. Think better of it. Because, like I said, you're going to turn the person off more than you're going to help. It just doesn't work. Because you didn't do it l'shem shamayim. Once you do it l'shem shamayim, whatever we do, truly l'shem shamayim works. Period. Okay? Okay. So now it says, the Ramchal concludes by briefly mentioning other constant mitzvot. And so he says, also associated with this division is the mitzvah of belief in Hashem and His oneness. And he says, Sefer Chinuch counts belief in Hashem and recognizing His oneness as two of the 6 mitzvot one is obligated to fulfill constantly. These comprise the belief that Hashem created the entire world and maintains it at all times, and recognition that Hashem is the one who directs all the created realms without any partners. There's also a trust in Him and other mitzvot of similar nature. So he says, once a person properly believes in the existence of Hashem, he will place his trust in Him and not worry about what would occur to him in this world. It should be noted that the Sefer Chinuch does not list bitachon, trust in Hashem, as a mitzvah that one is continually obligated to fulfill. However, the Chazon Ish states in his Iman and Bitachon, which we went through, and it's online actually, that bitachon is incorporated into the mitzvah of emunah. So if you want to know what the Chazon Ish says, it's called Faith and Trust. That's the series called Faith and Trust. The other, either just buy the book and you can read the book. Okay, so the other constant mitzvot listed in Sefer Chinuch, but not treated by the Ramchal in this chapter, are not to believe in any gods other than Hashem, and not to sully our minds with profane thoughts or chase after vain desires. Fine. And, okay. So that it says, all of them are matters that attach man with Hashem and reinforce within him the state of holiness and illumination. And so he says these mitzvot are incumbent upon one at all times because they are particularly helpful in enhancing one's divine service. Good. Now we come to Kriyat Shema and its blessings. Having discussed the mitzvot of continual nature of a continual nature, previous chapter, the Ramchal now introduces the daily mitzvot. 2 services were placed upon us to serve Hashem day after day. They are Kriyat Shema and the prayer service. And okay, fine. So, and during the times of the Beit HaMikdash, there were also the Tamid offerings and the Musaf offerings. He explains that during the times of the Beit HaMikdash, there were daily sacrificial service in addition to the mitzvot of Shema and the prayer service. The Tamid was sacrificed twice daily, while the Musaf was offered on Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, and holidays. We'll learn further on that after the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, the prayer service took on an additional function of substituting for the sacrifices. So what the Ramchal is telling us right away is prayer was not invented to replace the Karbanot. It was already in place. But what happens is when the temple is destroyed, it now goes into that place. It's not replacing it because you can't replace what you can't do. But now we put it into that section. So that's why we have Shacharis, that's why you have Mincha. Mincha is the daily offering, Mincha offering. And Marav is for the burnt, the limbs and everything that weren't burned. So if you had something left over, you could do it. But what we're looking at now is times. That's what we connected, yeah.
So when we had sacrifices, we had all the same Amida and Shema and stuff.
No, the Amida, no, we had prayers. It was Shema, yes. Right. Shema was the same. As far as the Amida was put into place by the Anshe Knesset Gedolah. So the temple was in between building and destruction when they put that together. But let's go to the first Beis HaMikdash. So in the first Beis HaMikdash, there was some sort of prayer service, but not as organized, certainly not as organized as we have today. And today, there's centuries upon centuries, layers upon layers of what we say and what we don't say. So that's why when you're coming Thursday, Long Tachman, right? So it said, I won't say the rabbi because I never asked the rabbi, but there's a big rabbi who they say, he said supposedly, that he can't say the whole V'hurachum. Again, it's a couple pages. We at synagogues fly through it with the speed of as fast as we can because we have to get people to work and so on and so forth, but we fly. No matter where you are going to fly, even the yeshiva flies. Because again, they want to get the kids to school and they got whatever they got into that. So everybody flies. So he said, supposedly, that he doesn't say the whole thing. He says one paragraph every single time, Monday, Thursday. He'll say one paragraph, concentrate on it, and then say the regular Tachanun. Because you can't say it as fast as everybody else. We're talking about a person who knows Shas. There's no way you can tell me that he can't read faster than me. If push comes to shove, he's going to be able to fly through it, knowing exactly what he says, with all the kavonot, everything else, he's going to know. But he said, it's not a game. So I can't finish everything. So I'm going to do is concentrate on one of those, let's say the 6, I don't know how many paragraphs, let's say there's 6 or 9, I forget how many there are. But he concentrated on just one and changes it every time. So he has a new perspective, if you will. Supposedly, I don't know. Again, I never asked him. I just heard his name, but he goes on, and it makes sense. What's the whole game? To make me appreciate, have awe of God. If I'm just running through words and I'm not really chopping what's going on, even if I understand every single word I'm saying, but I'm flying through it in order to get it done, there's no awe there. I've lost my awe. I've lost my love. I mean, think about, you want to tell your mother you love her, so what happens? You go into her and you say, at the speed of light, like we daven, that's how you speak to your mother. You think she'll understand you? God will understand us, yes, but you think your mother will think that is so heartfelt. Mom, I love you, bye. What? Or the famous thing is, hi, how are you? Fine, thank you, good. Because why should I wait for you to tell me? I know your answers already. Leave me alone. So you got that, hi, how are you? Fine, thank you, good. Okay. That's Bostonian. But really, that's how we daven. So the rabbi was trying, again, assuming he said it, the rabbi was trying to express that that's not what tefillah is all about. Tefillah is, you go slow, and if all you can get is Baruch Shema, Ashrei, Yishtabach, Berchat Shema, and you have to start a half hour early just to do that, just so you can daven Shemon Esrei with the Kehillah. Do that. Don't wait for us. Do it. You're talking to God. Don't wait for me. Don't wait for anybody. You want to be at Shemon Esrei when we start. So you have to know what time that is. So again, let's say it's here 8:20. So 8:20, I have to be so I don't care where you are. There's a Baruch, I no problem. But maybe I won't. Again, look at the laws. You have to look at the laws, what the laws say. But there's no halacha that says I have to say every single word. What it's trying to get me to is, again, have an appreciation for who I'm talking to. Yeah.
So when the sacrifices around, there coexisted at some level what we do now.
Yes, there was a prayer service apparently.
So when the sacrificial stuff ended with the destruction of the temple, did the prayer stuff was added to it, but it also did double duty for the sacrificial?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, basically. But again, we added kabbanas. Right. We had the whole, we don't say it here, but we added all of the, that's the beginning, before we go from Shema to Ravi Shema. But if most places don't say it anymore. If you go to Sfard say it actually. Sfard say everything. But again, they're running through it. But fine, whatever. They say it. It's a beautiful thing to go through the Mishnayos and everything else. And it says that one who does that it's considered as if they brought the kabbalas. But again, that's if I know what I'm reading. If I don't know what I'm reading, I haven't done anything. So I have to learn what those words mean. And then I can fill. It's not hard. Either I look at the English, look at the Hebrew, whatever. Look at the Aramaic, whatever I'm going to look at. As long as I understand what I'm saying, at the very beginning you have it. Also, when it comes to Musaf is all about karbanas. What we did, and how God will bring it. God willing, we'll do it again. But that's all part of that. So, yeah.
Called the Talmud offering. It's called
the Talmud, right? That whole thing.
So Dr. Frank says it.
Well, a lot of people say it. I say it before I come to shul.
Oh.
I say it before I come to shul. Because I can't say it here. Because we're in a time crunch. Oh, okay. So I say it before I come to shul. And that's the thing. You learn what you should be doing. So so you make concessions. I'll do it here. I'll do it. I'll do this. I'll do that. Okay, because you can't hold up everybody because you want to get another mitzvah in, if you will. So you do it. That's what I'm saying. A person who's coming in, if I know, like when I'm davening at other minyanim, and I know what time Shemona Esrei is, if they're davening like excuse the expression, a bat out of hell, and I can't keep up with them, I'm going to go my own speed. And then the next day I'll know that I have to come in earlier to do that. As a matter of fact, when I went from the yeshiva to HOC, that is a major change in time, right? Yeshiva goes 20 minutes on Pesukei Zimra, and then another half hour and so on. I mean, you're davening the whole day. Beautiful davening, I love it. But I can't do it anymore because I have to get to work. So I had to get my son to school. So I had to go to HOC. HOC is time. We have to go to work. Okay, fine. So now you know at 14 minutes after they begin is Baruch Hu. You know another 6 minutes, 10 minutes, and you're at that thing. So I have to. So I never used to wait. Because I was going slower. So I would, now nobody would see me eat habanero anymore, but I used to take much longer than them. But I would be at Shemona Esrei at that time. I didn't care. And I didn't worry about what they were doing, because I couldn't hear them anyway. But I wouldn't worry. I was always in the back. So do what you want. I told my son, daven, your speed. Let's go. Get to Shemona Esrei on time. That's what I have to do. And that's what you do. I'm not saying, I didn't come late. I came early. If I came late, I had to skip more. But I want to say everything, so I came early. Okay. So that's what you understand? So that's how it's working. So now it continues to say, we'll now explain their concept. The first is Kriyat Shema, which consists of the recognition of the oneness of Hashem and the acceptance of the yoke of His kingship. He says both of these ideas are. I'm sorry, I missed one. The recitation of Shema must be performed twice, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Once again in the evening. Sorry, and then it says both of these ideas arise from the first verse of Kriyat Shema. Here, listen, Israel, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. The practical result of recognizing Hashem's oneness is the acceptance of the yoke of His kingship. The Ramchal will discuss the concept of Hashem's oneness in this section, and the concept of His kingship in section 2. So what this means is that the Creator willed and brought forth diverse phenomena, celestial and terrestrial beings. And he says the Ramchal stated that the physical realm was divided into celestial and terrestrial beings. He used these terms in part 2 in a similar context. However, it's also possible it is possible that here Elyonim refers to the spiritual realm and only Tachtonim to the physical realm. Okay, fine. So spiritual and physical ones, he arranged them in a diverse system. And where look above me, where the Ramchal explained that Hashem arranged the creation in a system of gradations and concatenation from the spiritual realm down to the physical, and placed within each one's nature the ability to perform actions and functions and actions. And this is action in this context are performed by the physical beings, functions by the spiritual realm, and to undergo numerous developments and cycles, and to do in diverse ways according to what the divine wisdom allocated for each and every one. Indeed, Hashem is the sole source and the cause of all of them. This is the underlying principle of the acknowledgement of Hashem's oneness as expressed during Kriyat Shema. The concept of Hashem's oneness can be understood from two perspectives: from the perspective of the very essence of existence, and from the performance of perspective of performance. So, from the perspective of the very essence of existence, we have already explained in part 1 how all of the existing beings are dependent upon Hashem and emanate from His will, unlike Hashem's existence, which is an intrinsically absolute requirement and not dependent on anything else. The Ramchal stated that Hashem is the only being whose existence is absolute and perfect. All other existing beings have no existence other than the aspect of what Hashem desires for them, from His maintaining them through His will. That is, he explains, not only did they come into existence because of Hashem's will, but they are maintained only because Hashem continues to will it. This is an idea that is constantly gone over, that if Hashem doesn't want us to exist, we stop that second, that microsecond, nanosecond, whatever the smallest amount of time that we can express. Hashem needs to, if you will, want us around, or we don't no longer exist, and we're recognizing that. Then he says, from the perspective of performance, it is as follows. Although embedded within the nature of created beings is a capacity to rule over whatever they are able to encompass. And he says, the Ramchal wrote about either the soul or body being in command of one's actions. In part 1, he wrote about the power and rule of spiritual forces over the physical world. In part 2, he discussed the dominion over the stars over the physical world. On a smaller scale, every being in creation has defined functions that give it the capacity to rule over a certain domain of reality. And each one can perform grand functions according to the nature of its function. In actuality, they have neither power nor control other than what the Creator has transmitted to them. Again, the oneness of Hashem means that only Hashem has any rulership over created phenomena. So, for God is the true master, the ruler and omnipotent, and as such, whatever they do is only a result of Hashem empowering them and continuing to empower them to perform. Hashem has mastery over them to increase or reduce their power as He wills at any time and at any moment. And he says in Das Tavunot, Ramchal writes that when we say Hashem is one, it is not enough to understand it as meaning that His existence is absolute, not dependent on anything else. Rather, we must also understand it as expressing His omnipotent control and rulership over the world, as we said here. Okay, we'll have to stop here.